What's going on with Power Rangers right now? If you're like me, you're a really big fan of the show, and you may be looking at a lot of the news going on in regards to the franchise and be a little scared. I know my thumbnail may not be helping with that, but I had to get you to click somehow. I'm sorry. It seems as though every other day we're getting news of Hasbro canceling projects, showing a lack of interest, and overall just having a real tough go at it. The show's been going fairly steady for the past 30 years. There was a minor hiccup in 2010, but for the most part, the franchise has been pretty consistent. Every year or two, we've come to expect a new team of Rangers, borrowing Sentai footage to some capacity, with a new wave of toys, collectibles, and recently remakes of previous merchandise and re-releases and streaming and stuff. But it seems like a lot of that is slowing down right now. So I think it may be a good idea to look at the main branches of the franchise and sort of do like a vitals check, just to sort of see where they're at. I've deduced that there are 5 main pillars of the franchise, these being the show, the toys, legacy, we'll talk about that, comics, and potentially movies, although I think you could wrap that up with the first one. Starting with the show, as of right now, the current rumor is that there is no season 31. After Cosmic Fury, the show will either be going on hiatus for a while, or that will be the end of the current continuity, and a reboot will essentially fill in the spot that it left open.
Currently, we have Cosmic Fury coming up. That is the final season, question mark, at the moment.
This is Jin, also known as Jinsaku, a prominent leaker in the Power Rangers community on Twitter. He's been known for sharing accurate information for a while now, including things on Cosmic Fury and Once and Always.
It's definitely the last New Zealand season. They're not going back to New Zealand after this, and the executive producer, Simon Bennett, aka Pookie, y'all know our boy, he's gone after this. The writers are also gone after this, so if they continue the show, it'll be something different. But as of right now, the current show that we know, Mighty Morphin through Cosmic Fury, is it.
I've heard some minor rumors about Once and Always being a sort of backdoor pilot for a new series centered around Min, but I really haven't heard anything about that since the special aired. What we do know for a fact is that Cosmic Fury is about 10 episodes, which doesn't sound like a lot considering how Sentai and Kamen Rider have indoctrinated us into thinking 45 is the minimum to have for proper storytelling. But 10 is nothing to really sneeze at. Do you think it's a satisfying ending to like 30 years of a franchise, basically?
I wouldn't go as far as say like a happy ending or like a good send-off, because that's not its purpose. It's more of like a nice 30th anniversary type season with a lot of like Easter eggs. You know, you can see like maybe planets, question mark, that you know of from previous seasons. You might see a Pacific Sentai suit show up that you wanted to show up before that was initially skipped. You know, you might see things like a returning MMPR actor show up. Like things like that, they do like little small Easter eggs and small surprises for Power Ranger fans. It's like a little Frankenstein season. You know, you get like a bunch of this and that, some other random things thrown in there. So in terms of that, that's nice. But in terms of like a goodbye, I mean, it wraps up the Dino Fury, you know, that story concludes. But in terms of Power Rangers in general, I think is slightly not like a cliffhanger, but like an open ending, I guess, where if the show do come back, it's not like, oh wait, it ended, why are they back?
So it's not like a hard ending. It sort of still leaves the door open.
I don't think it's not something that's like, okay, this is it. Like, it's not like In Space, like that finale where like they thought it was the end, and so they went that route and defeated all evil. It's nothing like that. It might be the end of, you know, our villain. At this point, y'all probably know who that is. But in terms of the franchise as a whole, is not like a solid ending like In Space did.
And we also know that Hasbro has enlisted the help of Jonathan Entwistle and Jenny Klein to work on whatever reboot they have coming up. It hasn't been confirmed whether it's a TV show or a cartoon or all three or something entirely different. We just know that it's happening.
There is a reboot that was announced years ago. Some of you may remember, some of you may not because it was so long ago. But they're kind of still in a rough draft of doing that. Actually, recently, an Hasbro representative said that the reboot is still happening. They're still working on the show. They plan to continue the show after the writer's strike and the actor strike. But at the moment, that's kind of where we're sitting. We have a show coming out that may be the last, and we have a potential reboot, but nothing concrete on a reboot except for people at Hasbro telling us it's coming.
A lot of people were talking about, oh, but pre-production can be done and stuff. As much as I know, I don't think Hasbro was going into this new reboot, this generation of Power Rangers, with the mindset of, let's make the toys first and then the series will come later and we'll put whatever on top of it. The point of this reboot was to switch that thinking and give you the good story, the actual meat and potatoes, and then sell the toys to you and then pick out what toys to sell. So the pre-production, I've seen people being like, oh, they can still go into pre-production and just wait. Like, no, all that's on hold.
This is Hawkules. Some of you know him as Dylan. I sat down with him to talk about his thoughts on some current world events and what he thinks the future of Power Rangers looks like. It's important to understand that Power Rangers doesn't exist in a bubble. Above Power Rangers, above Sentai, above tokusatsu as a whole, there's the entire film and television industry, and at least in the West, it's seeing a ton of controversy right now. Not to jump too far deep down the rabbit hole, but for a while there's been a Hollywood writers' strike, covering issues like AI as well as what proper compensation looks like in a world of streaming. And considering Power Rangers' current deal with Netflix, that one seems increasingly relevant. This is why we see an increasing number of reality TV shows this summer. Fox recently launched a new show called Stars on Mars, a high-budget reality TV show that sees celebrities going through space training exercises. And we're seeing several other shows just like that this summer because they don't require writers. Shows like The Last of Us and Euphoria have been delayed for the exact same reasons, and more recently there's a Hollywood actors' strike as well, centered around similar issues. And it should be obvious that something like Power Rangers kind of needs actors and writers to make the show happen, because if it didn't, it would just be Sentai.
To get this out of the way, firstly, I am firmly for the strike and support all this stuff. I'm not saying that man, I want my show now, or I want my movies, or whatever's next, I want it now. I don't care what the actors get paid. That's not the case. But firmly speaking, from what you're going to get out of Power Rangers in the next, hell, let's call it 3 years, the answer is nothing. Before COVID and everything shut down, I used to work very don't know that word. I used to work very closely with people that are in the unions that we were talking about today. Right now, we are trying to overhaul this archaic system, and when I say we, I mean the actors and the writers. This kind of archaic system that was made back when TV first started, about residuals and how those are paid out and how actors and writers are paid out throughout the year and contracts and such like that. So the studios themselves are not agreeing on terms with the actors to try to overhaul this system for a streaming world. And that's where we're at right now. Everybody's kind of at a stalemate, and this strike has been planned on for a few months, and everybody kind of knew it was coming, studios and actors alike, so everyone kind of, planted their feet and got set. But right now we are in what a lot of people think are just the very beginning of it.
What are some of like the main issues being dealt with? I know like streaming is one of them. I know AI is one of them.
Yeah, it's funny because AI was kind of on the back end with actors, on the front end with writers. The Writers Guild went on strike back in May, and their main, a lot of things, besides residuals, which is like the big thing for everybody, I'll get into that in a second, was AI writing and writing scripts with AI and studios not being able to use those scripts. So when the Writers Guild went on strike, that was one of their main things of like, hey, you have to have a script written by a person, and that is something that the studios literally just said, we're not going to agree on that at all. So like, move on, next. And everybody kind of was taken aback and like, wait, this seemed like the most basic thing we were talking about. AI on the actors side is, after the strike was initiated, it came out that a lot of studios and a lot of productions had been scanning background actors and not telling them why and making them sign off if they wanted to keep working. The studios wanted to scan all the background actors and owned their image and likeness in perpetuity, meaning they can use it whenever, wherever, however they wanted to. The other biggest one is residuals, like I was talking about before. That archaic system is basically when you work on a TV show or a movie, you get paid a certain amount. And then you also get paid on the back end that amount for whenever that TV show does a rerun or that movie airs on TV. You get a residual check from, the advertisements and stuff. And basically with streaming, those residuals, which a lot of writers and actors used to depend on throughout the year, because a writing job is 12 weeks and then you either look for another writing job or you could be contracted to just that show's writer's room. So you would have to wait until the next season of that show pops up, and the residuals would kind of be your sail to glide until that next paycheck comes. And so with streaming, those residuals have shrunken very, very much because streaming services do not and have never actually had to release numbers for their shows. Because they're not releasing the numbers, nobody knows how much those shows are being watched, so those checks don't have to be as big as they used to be. Say when you would get a Lizzie McGuire rerun on Disney Channel, you can show how many people watched that show. You can show when that show aired, how many times that show aired, and all that stuff, and you get the residual check based off of that. Plus, you have advertisers and stuff paying for that residual check. Whereas in streaming, nobody knows those numbers. There's also no advertisers, so it's just paid by the overall membership cost. So when you see your subscription price being upped and upped, you would think, hey, it's going to all these other costs, all these actors and stuff. But the CEOs of these companies have been making, I think it was like 40 times more than when they started, which is insanely ridiculous. And the amount that it would take to end this strike, purely based on like the top 10 CEOs of these streaming services, would be like 2% of their income.
In terms of like the actors and writer strikes, the only thing that was really actively in development for Power Rangers was the reboot. And I guess lucky for them, they never started. So they're in the same position they was before. We all remember the announcement that they announced in 2020 where like there was going to be films and TV shows, et cetera, et cetera. The original, like the first project they actually started hiring people for was the movie. They were going to do a reboot movie, have Entwistle direct. They're going to have Brian Edward Hill be the writer. And what they were going to do with that would be, probably whatever the start of a new universe or whatever they had going on there. But as of recently, that movie has been shelved, but they decided to move away from the movie and then do a show instead. So they're doing a young adult series. So they're upping the maturity and they want to do like a more reboot show. I think what they were trying to do was wait for the current show to end, which makes sense. They don't want to like do a reboot and Cosmic Fury and Once and Always all at the same time. But now we have the writer strike and the actor strike and everything. One representative, though, Emily at Hasbro, has stated they do plan on continuing a reboot after the strike is over. So maybe anyone that's panicking right now can like breathe a bit. You're still getting Power Ranger content.
And with Power Rangers being such a small brand, that definitely, I don't think, adds to the priority list, considering that this affects everything down the line. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
for all intents and purposes, Transformers 300 times bigger than Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one can argue it's not. Toy sales are through the roof. There's always an animated series. There's a movie every 5 years. Like it's just far bigger than Power Rangers. And Transformers is still kind of treated like by Hasbro, kind of like, oh yeah, we'll roll this out when we need some money. We'll focus on this when it needs some money, or else it'll just print cash. G.I. Joe, also a big franchise owned by Hasbro that they could be milking to the ends of the earth, and they don't. I think Power Rangers is going to firmly find itself in between those two franchises on Hasbro's priority list.
Moving on to toys, right now we're expecting a Morpher, a weapon set, and the Meg Megazord to be released alongside Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. Now, hearing that we're only getting the primary Megazord may not be that much of a surprise to any of you. As weird as it seems, Hasbro has never shown much interest in releasing all of the robots in a particular season. We never saw toy releases for the Beast X King Megazord, the Cosmic Raptors, or the Pack of Smash Zords. I don't understand why we would include them in the show if we're not going to have them all. Like, genuinely, it's weird to me that you would produce a TV show centered around selling toys if you're not gonna sell the toys that it was made to promote. We're still not entirely sure what Zords will make an appearance in Cosmic Fury, especially considering how there's about 13 mecha in Q Ranger that we have to cram into 10 episodes, but I'm certain we're at least going to get the Zenith Ranger piloting the Orion Battler, or at the very least, if the rumors about an Orange Ranger are true, we should see the Scorpion make an appearance to some capacity, though I genuinely know nothing. Now, the second most interesting thing about this list is that I never mentioned us getting basic figures.
The figures, yeah, so that's definitely been an interesting thing.
This is Josh. I'm sure he needs no introduction. He's the host of Lightning Storm, a web news series that covers everything surrounding the Power Rangers Lightning Collection.
I think it was when the pictures of the Megazord and the roleplay set were finally like leaked out there, I made a post that I was like, as far as I know, it's these 3 things that you just mentioned and like nothing else, which I was disappointed in because I've really liked, in addition to the Lightning Collection, I've really liked the basic figure line that Hasbro's made since Beast Morphers. Just because I thought they were always pretty decent figures for like the price that they were and for being like the kid line. But I also just really liked that they were still reasonably in scale with Lightning Collection. Like you know, if you posed it correctly, you could kind of like get away with like, especially with like pictures and stuff of them fitting in. And I really, really liked that, especially for like villains. So I really, really wanted them to make Cosmic Fury figures. Also, Lightning Collection takes forever to do like the current teams, and I guess especially with this break, and this was before I knew about the break, so like that was a whole thing where I was just hoping that they would get Lightning figures someday, but I guess that's off the table for a while too. So it's just like I just wanted some sort of figures for Cosmic Fury. So it turns out, after I had talked about that and said that I hadn't heard that any figures were in the works, I heard, I guess, positive news. It's still something that I think is not a great choice, but from what I understand, they are making at least 3 basic figures of the Zenith Ranger, the Red Ranger, and then I can't get a definitive answer if it's black or blue that they're making, but that's the 3rd slot. I could see reasons as to why both of them could be that final slot, because Hobby has that like different arm kind of like look, so they might want to do that, and I can see why Ollie would be a pick as well, for different reasons, but like
The story rumors?
Yeah, the story rumors.
Yeah,
Like it's one of those things where I don't want to say too much with that. So like that's the only thing I could think of as to like why between the 2 of them. But I've yet to hear, and maybe this will backfire again, but I don't think they're doing any more beyond those 3, which is odd. So it looks like we're not going to get the rest of the team, which kind of goes back to what we were saying about like completion and everything, where it's like, why even bother? But I don't know when we're going to see those. I believe they're supposed to be out like around, like probably around Christmas time ish is when we should probably see those. I'm not personally expecting any like extra Cosmic Fury toys in like 2024 or anything like that. It just doesn't seem likely. Maybe they'll release more Key Ranger Zords. Maybe there'll be like some like another like roleplay item or something, but I'm not really expecting it. Yeah, so figures are coming, at least 3. We'll see which one gets that final slot, and we'll see where we go from there. But like, yeah, I was a little wrong about that, but that was just at the time I had literally not heard anything.
Yeah.
And then afterward, people were like, actually, it's probably going to happen. I'm like, oh, okay. So
now back to that list, I mentioned something about legacy releases. This comes in 2 subcategories. The first of which being the show, and the second of which being the toys, which seems like we just covered those things. But when I'm talking about this, I mean things that are not current. When it comes to accessing legacy content for the show, I would say things are the best they've ever been. Mighty Morphin reruns are constantly on the Pluto TV app, and a new channel was added to Roku centered entirely around the brand. Not to mention, Hasbro's been uploading every single season to YouTube for free, which in my opinion is so much better than having it on Netflix behind a paywall, because it's free. Not to mention, the way they've been releasing shows gives fans something to get excited about, and these 24-hour live streams make it super easy to mindlessly turn something on in the background without having to think too hard about what you want to watch. Access to legacy content in terms of the show is genuinely the best that it has ever been. There's a lot of ads, but we love ads. Don't skip them. The toys, on the other hand, a
couple weeks ago, I released this Lightning Storm episode that talked about that Hasbro is essentially going on a little break of Power Rangers merch, production, just kind of everything as a whole for 2024. If you kind of looked at like some of the stuff that's been coming out, like news-wise, this isn't like most surprising news, at least I think. But like we knew that there wasn't really much that they were working on after Cosmic Fury. But I was always hoping that the Lightning Collection would still be able to continue because there's really no reason why it can't without a show. Like, it doesn't need a show. But regardless, they're taking a little break with it. There are going to be some, like, and I talked about this as well, some like deluxe re-releases and some helmets are getting reissued and stuff like that. I don't know like the full specifics of all that kind of stuff, so it's not like we're going to get like zero products in 2024, but we're really not going to get much like new things, or especially as much as we are like used to getting in a year like that. So the reception to the video pretty much went over exactly how I expected. There was a lot more positive reception in terms of just like people thanking me for the coverage of the Lightning Collection over all these years and stuff like that. That I guess I wouldn't say I wasn't expecting, but I knew that the reception of it was going to be really interesting and really divisive on both ends. And so it was pretty much what I expected, but it was overwhelming in certain regards on both sides. And I think that that is just kind of a testament to what this line meant to a lot of people. And I'm trying to get used to like talking about it, like in the past tense as if it's like over, even though I know that's not the case, but like I'm kind of just preparing in case it doesn't come back or it comes back in a form that we're not used to, or it comes back in a brand new form or something like that. So it's one of those things where it's just like, it's an interesting time and I get where everybody's coming from, but it's been really like humbling and also like disappointing, if that makes sense. Like kind of in a, some days it's more disappointing, sometimes it's more humbling, if that makes sense like that. So it's just one of those things where it's a lot of emotions at once for everything going on. So basically, at this point, I'm really only expecting, I would imagine, or at least I'm hoping, that we're going to get like one reveal event during August for Power Month, week, day at this point, whatever they're going to call it, because there's not that much left for them to talk about. They have confirmed that they're going to be present at Hasbro PulseCon in September, which is good, because they are usually there, so I was expecting and hoping that they'd be there. So that tells me that they're going to really be kind of stretching these last couple announcements out as much as they can. So I'm not sure exactly like what will be an August thing, will be a September thing. But as far as I know, I believe we're supposed to still get the Yellow Ranger helmet that I talked about a very long time ago. I don't know what's been happening with that one and why it's been taking so long. The Master Morpher is supposed to still happen, I believe, as a PulseCon exclusive for about 100. Very excited for that thing. I've heard just amazing things about it. That thing's gonna sell like crazy. We're supposed to get like this it's not a Wave 16, but it's this fan channel exclusive wave of Boom Studios figures with the Morphonaut and the other 3 color swap Rangers that they didn't make last year. So we have that down the pipeline. And then that's pretty much it, besides the Omegas as well. Because as far as I know, Tigerzord did not make it to production. That was leaked a while ago. And there's not like a official Wave 16. There's no more remastered figures in the works. No more like roleplay stuff in the works that I've heard about that, I don't, there's always, of course, a slight possibility that there's stuff that I don't know about that they're going to just tell us. Of course, that's always a factor. I would imagine that there's probably not that much out there that wouldn't have had the chance to be like leaked to me or spoiled in some capacity.
Yeah.
But of course that's always the possibility. Like, I'm not trying to say that I am like the end all be all, like this is exactly what they're doing, because of, I'm not them. So of course they may be able to keep some things from me. So
You're the host of Lightning Storm. Are you kidding me? Like you are the end all be all when it comes to information on this, Josh.
I try, but of course, there's been times where they've blindsided me, so like, it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
If they play it right, for some people, it's going to seem like the line is like not going on a break, and they're going to probably be like, Josh, they're announcing new stuff. Everything's fine. I'm like, yeah, just wait till like after September. We're going to have a long drought of like nothing. So it's going to be one of those kind of situations. So it's going to be interesting to see how like the next like 2.5 months pan out.
No one said like this is definitive, it's over, we're done, but
yeah, thankfully, like from none of the sources that I've heard things from, and I heard a lot before the big episode of Lightning Storm, and I heard way more after. Like after I posted the episode, so many people started DMing me. They're like, hey, we've never talked before, but I can back it up because of this reason, or I'm from this store, or I'm like, there's so many different things that people were reaching out to me from. It was kind of a lot. And so it's definitely for sure like a break that's happening. At Comic-Con, they said that they put out this kind of confusing like official statement, but they basically confirmed that yes, it is a break, that like the line will come back Sunday, but nobody's given a timetable of like, is this just for 2024? Are they going to try to come back in 2025? If it's going to be late, is it going to be later than that? It's going to be 2025 at like the earliest, but we'll see. Hopefully it's then. I don't want it to go longer than that, but I really don't know. It could definitely last a lot longer. It could be shorter. Who knows?
Gotcha. Now, the comics are doing fantastic. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comics show no signs of slowing down. In fact, they're starting a new arc pretty soon. And we've also recently started a whole new series entitled Power Rangers Academy, spin-offs to the World of the Coinless and the Hyperforce Rangers, as well as another crossover with the TMNT. If anything else, the comics are the one area I would say Power Rangers is actually doing better than just okay. Outside of the streaming, of course. The comics truly are carrying the brand, and there's a lot to be excited about them. So is Power Rangers dead? With the comics still coming out and the YouTube channel housing every single episode, it's hard to say that the show doesn't have a pulse. But having a new show and new toys every year is what the franchise has been founded on. The future is really scary for all of us. I think if anything, things like the pandemic have taught us that you can never really plan what's going to happen even a year or two down the road. It's hard to feel like Power Rangers ending is the end-all be-all of things with, you know, the world literally being on fire right now. I never thought I'd have a day where I had to wake up and check the air quality. Times are tough for everyone, but I feel like they always have been a little bit. But things like Power Rangers and other TV shows and hobbies and shit like that makes it more tolerable. But I think the show being on hiatus presents an opportunity to everyone in this space. Specifically with just Toku, there's tons of Rider and Sentai I've personally never checked out, and I know for a fact none of you have seen every single Ultraman series. But even more than that, I don't want to end this video on a point that essentially boils down to me telling you to touch grass. But I think it could be beneficial to go do something else. Like I said, there's so many things to worry about. Don't let the state of Power Rangers ruin your day. The show isn't going to be wiped off the face of the planet. You can still go back to it, and it's literally right there on their YouTube channel. But during this hiatus or off season or whatever you want to call it, I want to encourage you to like still love Power Rangers and enjoy it for what it is, but go try new things. Learn a martial art. Try crocheting something. Be creative. Make music. Start a YouTube channel. Do something that makes you happy. Power Rangers can still make you happy, but there's so much more stuff we can enjoy. For our health, I'd rather us spend our time loving things than waiting for things we love to come back to us. Because at that point, it doesn't matter if they come back or not. Obviously, it's cool if they stay, but hopefully that won't matter to you because you'll be spending your time doing other things that you love. Thank you to Jinsaku, thank you to Josh, thank you to Hawk. All of their links are down in the description. And here is another video on Power Rangers. I haven't picked it out yet, but thanks for watching.